2-minute warning, folks. We're really going to start at 9:15. Come on down.
Those two are after the cutaways or before the cutaways?
They're after, so just tell me where you want me to go with them. And I'll tell me when you want me to, if you want me to.
You want me to take
Comment
over
on
from
anything.
Tom?
Yeah, you take over.
Yeah, maybe I'm saying here we go, we're doing a walkthrough again
Yeah.
of that, and then we'll go into it.
Yep.
Okay.
There it is. The roadmap to enlightenment.
That's a full pew right here.
Here we are.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Mark.
He greeted you. I'll leave you both of these, though. It's obvious now.
I like to move the point. She knows that.
Yeah. Sounds like you got some. Robin, are we rolling online? Good morning, all. Come on down and join us. We're glad to be with you at our fifth and final forum. So this is, let me turn it to the title page here, the other title page. This is where we've been, especially if you're just dropping in, to know that you can go back online and look at these other ones if you're curious about these other spaces. We started with an overview of everything. Then we talked about outreach and kitchen spaces, which are down on the first floor in a similar part of the buildings, and share some spaces. Then we looked at the church, or organ, and accessible entries. Then last week were green spaces, parking, and sustainability, how we're going to look at that. And then today, we've got formation, music, nursery, and offices, just a few more things. But in a way, all of the things today are related. It's really a lot of our formation and day-to-day ministry takes place in these areas and in these ways. So we're going to walk through those in a minute. But as we begin, Tommy Parker is going to ground us as our Spiritual Emphasis Committee person of the day. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Good morning. The Lord be with you. I'm going to ask that we all say this prayer together, the one that we've crafted that Catherine crafted for our journey together. And we'll begin. Holy God, you call to us to make your love visible in the world around us. Give us wisdom and courage to meet this moment with generosity and with hope, that we may grow in your loving kindness and show forth your compassion in our community with renewed faithfulness and boldness, through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. When Catherine Bush asked me to talk about faith formation here at Calvary and its impact on my family and on me, I struggled to figure out what to say, because really for me, faith formation touches on everything that Calvary is to me. We often think of faith formation, I guess, as Christian education, but in my mind, it's who Calvary is and what we do here at Calvary to make God's love visible in the community, both inside this community as well as outside. For me, I came wandering into Calvary a little over 30 years ago as a young lawyer, going to the Lenten preaching series. And soon after that, I started going to the Journey course down in the mural room. And as I look back over these many years, my faith has been shaped and challenged, and it's certainly grown in the spaces in this place. I don't know about y'all, but when I walk into a room here at Calvary, I think of the classes or the experiences that I've had from the Bible study. Well, I'm pointing that way, but it's actually the Montgomery foyer. I took confirmation classes in that library and down in the mural room. Parenting classes. Ardell had a parenting little group around the corner. Bill Cole, many, many years ago, had a grief support group that I joined, and I can't imagine all the classes that I've taken in this space and in the Emerson room. I even remember meeting upstairs in the rector's study as part of the Journey group. And then as I think of my children, our girls, they started in the nursery and worked their way through all the classes, all the classrooms around here, and then they migrated up to the third floor. And then, of course, Allison, I think of, she's either taught or been a part of a class in almost every room in this place. I know that we're not unique. Probably every one of you could do a similar list or come up with similar classes. And we've all experienced the formation within each one of us. It promotes that spiritual growth for each of us individually, but we've done it as a community, and we've done it together. I did a little digging on the internet and found an Episcopal priest in California who talked about Christian formation, and he said it's a lifelong process occurring in community that shapes us into the person or the people that God created us to be. I remember back in the Journey days, Doug Bailey was fond of saying, we're not human beings, we're human becomings. And I always liked that concept of not being fully formed, but continuing to grow. We're all a work in process. And so now, as we launch this program, this campaign to change our public spaces, both for today and tomorrow, even for tomorrow's tomorrow, as our opening letter said, we see that our church home is also a work in process. And we enter, I guess, this next phase, I say I guess, but we enter it with renewed faithfulness and boldness. And I look forward to seeing how these new spaces shape us, shape me, shape Allison, and shape you in the years to come. So with that, I'm going to take my space. Normally, Allison and I are in the back, but I'll go right here and turn it over, Scott. Oh.
Hey, good morning, and just a thank you to Tommy and Bill and Mimsy and Catherine and Liz Crosby for the reflections. I think that's been a great way to start out each of these sessions. I'm David Lusk, and I've been working through Master Plan these many years. So today, we're going to talk later about formation in classrooms, etc., but I'm going to do kind of a walkthrough of where we are and of the whole plant as things are materializing. And off Catherine's script, shout out your questions. If you want me to pause longer on one section or say something more about a particular area, please shout it to me. And then we'll delve deeper into the classroom and formation aspects of it. So most of you have been here before, and I thank you very much, whether you're in the room or whether you're out there online. It's exciting. It's been exciting to have so many good comments coming back to us who've been working on this for a long time. So throw your comments. Let's do the walkthrough. This is the plaza right here. formerly known as staff parking lot or formerly known as Calvary Place play space. Paved area, mostly paved. Yeah, there's some trees, there's some green spaces in there. There's a lot of seating. There's a big welcoming front door. The archway, let's make this work, is the primary entrance into the Calvary of this century, as we're hoping. So over here is 2nd Street, Jefferson here, Adams on the other side, the parking lot back here behind the piano. Enter from the parking lot under a covered walkway, through a door there, through the main big doors, or through a door that points right to 2nd Street. So effectively, we're opening ourselves up more than we are right now by entering through an alley door. You're open to downtown, you're open to the big plaza, the activity area, you're open directly to the parking space also, and Grizzlies Prep right here too. You know, they have access to this, and we're opening ourselves more to their building as well. Hub building, former Hub building, there on the corner. The whole plaza is a meeting space for Calvary and the rest of downtown as we see it. Probably there'll be some kind of gate closing us off at nighttime on both ends of the plaza, making it a little more secure, but open to downtown, open to everybody during the day. As we walk in or see another view, let's focus on this area right there. That's the first floor, the last atrium right now, and a class of daycare, and a classroom above. Colored glass, signifying church, right? Signifying stained glass. The lower level space is the new chapel or community room. Big corner space opens again straight onto downtown. Colored glass makes it a little less easy to see directly in. No windows on 2nd Street, but that space becomes maybe a small wedding space, as Catherine has talked about in the past. It's probably Sunday morning, this group meeting down in there. It's maybe a Wednesday night chapel service and then classroom after that. It's certainly used as the main classroom, the main meeting space off this atrium. So we've walked through the plaza door. We're in the atrium. Dude's checking his phone right here. Big open space. Here's the chapel, right behind that seating space. There are the stairs up to 2nd floor. And from the door, you see right back to the mural room. So the yellow back there on the far wall, signifying the mural, just to give people a little bit of sense of place. Couple of steps down to the mural area, but all of this atrium space is big congregational meeting, entertainment, multi-flex space used for all sorts of things, mostly meant for us to meet ourselves, our friends, our other congregants, and to be open to the community for events as we see fit. For instance, Lenten preaching and waffle shop, you know, the line is probably here for waffle shop. If you're here for waffle shop on a major day, you know there's a big line that goes out to the alley and sometimes wraps around the corner. Well, now we're inside. Also, maybe Sunday morning for basement church, the lines on cold days can also stretch around the side of the building. Perhaps that line is starting in the atrium and then going down through that door, down to the alley door and into the kitchen. Also, it's on one level. So handicap entrance right from that main entrance door, slide right into this atrium, right down to the kitchen and down to the mural room and the basement church area. So the goal was to keep everything open and make the flow, make the wayfinding as easy as possible. These 3 buildings weren't built continuously or with much thought about how people really work through them. And that's what the master plan group has tried these many years to figure out how the buildings can integrate better among them and make our visitors wander through as easily as possible. Mm-hmm. Jill.
About the master plan. Okay,
Oh, red carpet's this way.
Okay, the doors that are now to be the main, could you go back a slide?
Yep.
And show us the door? Okay, so those are gonna be glass doors, but the red doors will still be on.
Yeah. The church building, the parish hall, that's the parish hall, the taller roof, church tower beyond that. Definitely red doors. Calvary Church, red doors. And the reds might even match, Jill, right? They may be repainted. All right, so now the cutaways. It's hard to see. Many of you have seen them before, but let's do our same walk just like we did. We've gone from parking or parking over here on the street into the atrium, down into the mural room, gospel rooms behind. So that yellow wall, the mural, is possibly straight back here. You're seeing the mural idea from outside, straight through. We're wide open. It's easy to find your way for visitors that way. There's this chapel space that I talked about, another meeting room beyond that. And over here, another one of the big changes we've made is that the offices come to first floor. Why are the offices on fourth floor right now other than they have been forever? Now we've moved the offices right down to the heart of the building where anybody can easily find someone to help them, or the staff, everybody can see the people who are coming into the building. The building's more open. There are windows all along this alleyway, so each office has light. Each office can see outside, and to some degree, people are going to be able to see inside and see activity within our building. So we're here, atrium. We've gone down the alleyway entrance. Look at this little door right there. That goes right into the kitchen for service area. So a truck pulls up, wheel carts their Cisco products into the kitchen, and it's right there at Mary's very easily. This door, I've been calling the service entrance, trying to get away from any alley door idea that we've had low these many years. Instead, we believe this door is the main door for all of us to use coming into church. That's the serving area. Kitchen still is in the phase of being better designed. Walk-in coolers in there, much more streamlined without the bank of refrigerators that we have in there now. Mary's got an office, bigger open area into the mural room, more visible area back into the kitchen, but fewer doorways to get into the kitchen. So it's not as much of a free-for-all as it is in the current setup. You've got to open a door or open a passageway to get into the kitchen itself. Back the same chute to the area underneath the church building, our ministries area. This is the Bethlehem Chapel, right now used primarily on Sunday mornings for clothing for the homeless crew. This now becomes clothing area, clothes closet. It can be wheeled in there on a Sunday morning, but that former Bethlehem Chapel now becomes more of an activity room the rest of the week. Big open space, no rail, probably not the Dorothy Sturm windows that are in there right now. It's no longer a liturgical or a church-like space, not a chapel at all. Bigger bathrooms there with showers. So we've got a group coming from out of town, a EYC group from some other state. They're working on projects in Memphis. They can now stay at our church comfortably and do better cleanup than we've ever been able to offer those groups in the past. The little laundry room right there, again, a streamlined area, and hopefully we'll be able to make it seem like the ceiling is not on your head and that you're not walking down tight little passageways. So now we're going to move upstairs.
Are they going to have space for AA meeting that happens? Isn't there an AA meeting?
Well, there's AA meetings. I think I don't know where they are exactly.
They haven't met there since the pandemic. They're in Montgomery Foyer right now.
But yes, clearly a good room for that or for many other purposes, multi-purpose. All right, so we're walking up these main stairs to the second floor. main stairs end you up on this bridge. Bridge is two-story on that side, two-story on this side. This is the organ room. Same footprint, same skylights as we have right now. So that was a big savings as we were figuring out where to cut things. That change saved us, what, $1 million or something. So minor details. On second floor, kids' classroom, music suite, streamlined a little bit with vesting right in their areas. Kristen office, assistant's office, upstairs vesting area for clergy, acolytes, sacristy in the same place, very little change there. Down the stairs to this hallway, right now, right out here, which is presently Crump Parlor. You see that that's gone. Great Hall stays almost the same at this juncture. Same woods, same wainscoting, same ceiling height. Fireplace may shift either to where it's noted there. It may be going in a current idea on this wall instead. As you see, that fireplace didn't work anyway. There's never been a fire in there, so it's easy to pick up the idea and put it back there on that wall. But it's staying. Wayfinding, again, the walkway. This corridor wraps across the bridge, wraps through the 2nd Street side, wraps outside the Great Hall, and straight on up to the church area. So the loop on 2nd floor is easy to get into the church, to get out of the church, to work your way through the classrooms. Speaking of classrooms, classroom there, nursery here, library here, brought up to the same level as this level. Right now, the Montgomery foyer is 4 steps down. It's raised. The floor is brought up. The ceiling height is raised. And it and the Great Hall open onto each other across that corridor. So it's a tougher thing to understand in your mind, but it works real well. The doorway through is right about here to the 92 building. In that spot, Great Hall hallway, library, and into the Bride's Walk. So, Bride's Walk, right now, 4.5 feet wide with stairs. No stairs, no steps, and this is a new narthex, although it's improperly called that, Scott, with a ramp for handicapped people. So we now have a ramp on the front of the building going right into the church area, narthex through the bell tower into the church. Does that make sense? We're following that. We've seen it enough. So then in the church, minor change there, font going to the back of the space, more space behind the rail. No red carpet, Jill. I said there was red carpet. There's no red carpet anywhere. Maybe you can remember that for our opening parties. We want red carpet somewhere. Or maybe we can just save what we have here for the scraps. More distance behind the rail, hard surface, stone surface of some sort underneath the choir for acoustic purposes. Refinished floors and refinished pews. We've heard lots about that all the way through, so I'm not going to go into that one anymore. Then, 2 more slides. That's 3rd floor. Yes. Yep.
Talk about that walkway. Where does it start? If you come in on the
The Bride's Walk area or the loop? Okay. Well,
can you start on the walkway on the 1st floor?
well, yes. I mean, in that those stairs are very open, right in the center of the big atrium. Then you have to take the stairs up or the existing elevator, which is, again, new news. New elevator, everybody. What do we hear for a new elevator? Yay. Thank you. That's what we want to hear. Pony up. Giddy up. So, stairs up. Well, to your point. The blue colors are the access areas, right? The open areas, the walkways, the light blue. So here, you're looping this way in light blue. big open areas. Same thing on second floor, that pale blue color is the walkway all the way around. This, the bridge across, it's open both sides, and you're seeing straight to these restroom doors, the existing restroom doors. Again, not the existing restrooms. All restrooms will be new and improved. Yay, let's hear it for that. Restroom here, also straight shot from the church. And slight ramp, slight elevation there into the parish hall building, slight elevation there into the church area. Does that answer? But it's completely accessible. No stairs within either floor. Once you're on it, yeah. Digression, there are stairs from the atrium down into the mural room, but if you're handicapped, you can, or for the handicapped, sorry, you walk this way down the ramp as we've been doing now. The stairs are right here, and that's due to fire issues and grade change of those two buildings. Good enough? Did that explain? Then we're on third floor. Third floor, as you know, right now has 2 youth classrooms as well as vesting for the choir. Choir vesting, as I said, goes down to the choir suite on this level, 2 enlarged classrooms, and look at that. We get a restroom on third floor. How about that? Changes all over the place. Little storage room. Minor changes there, but those are very adaptable, bigger spaces than we've had in the past. And then we're going on up to 4th floor, and I bet there are some people in this room who've never even been on 4th floor. It's a long, straight hallway with lots of offices going both ways. Those offices right now remain as kind of storage, locked spaces for kitchen, perhaps to store things that are just used once a year. Perhaps the boar's head costumes go up there, stuff like that. At this end, which is that side of the building, presently Scott's office and Yvette's office, those are big, high-ceiling spaces, or can be. They become a youth classroom and a smaller youth classroom with a big beanbag space, as Scott has been calling it, right there, just kind of a hangout space. Restrooms improved, handicapped accessible restroom on 4th floor, break room stays, and clear at the other end of this without those partitions. That becomes a dedicated bell room. The bell players need their practice room. It's hard to move them around. Bells are stored up there. Another choir room at that far end. And I believe that's the tour. Yes, Jerry.
On those 3 classrooms in the youth space,
Yep.
I remember a while ago we talked about them having the potential to all connect together and be an open L. Is that still a possibility?
Door into the breakout. Double doors of some sort. Those are easy partitions to change. Yeah, the vision is that they can flow together, but probably not fold back doors necessarily. Not a big open space. Again, adaptability, so that doesn't always have to be used for youth. If some other breakout group needs to be up there, it can be used that way also.
David, are you going to lose the former rector's office?
The former rector's office, which, you know, probably several people in here haven't been here either, is lost. It's lost in the height of the library and then becomes an attic space above that. Things like these will be reused somewhere, right? They're going to find a home. It's great, good, cool, leaded glass windows. Maybe they don't open like those do, or at least the first 2. And those back there with the vents, that's 3rd floor. There was hope that we would be able to even get a little light coming into those 3rd floor rooms. Doesn't work because of HVAC issues, but all those elements that are coming out of spaces are going to be reused. Clear down to the screens that are on the back of the church. You know, those great screens with the coat hooks that are rarely used. They'll find a place somewhere. That's the patina. I think maybe Harriet said patina in one of the early meetings about what we were doing. We're not going to lose it. Hopefully we'll have hardwood, at least on the 2nd floor chute all the way around, and bring more of that age and more of the feel of this to the 92 building while updating all three spaces. Madge?
Back to the original slides, the first slides to the main entry. This right there, well, and.
Further.
There you go. Take us again through where we will bring people who need to be handicap access from there. Where do we drop people off? Where do we pull in?
It depends on if you're going into service. You do that on 2nd Street. You saw well, 2nd Street is going to have more parking on the street, so those will be parking spaces there dedicated full-time. That ramp is right there, and you go up the ramp into church from 2nd Street. If you're coming for other purposes or staying longer at Calvary, this is a covered walkway, a colonnade, that stretches beyond the corner of this building with some kind of canopy, some kind of covered area. So you can pull up and let people out. The parking lot is not fully developed yet. Neither is that canopy, but there will be an area where a car can turn and let someone out, and then the driver parks. It's not a big funeral home canopy like we have right now, presumably. But that's to the parking lot, as we learned last week, is going to be expanded. There'll be a memorial area there. There'll be more green space. It will be the current alley, as we're thinking, is a pedestrian walkway with parking starting further over and the access point for trucks further over than the alley is right now. All right, then, Padre, you're next. Yeah, Bill.
What about right over here, beside us, we're here in the sanctuary, in that area? Will that remain?
The courtyard remains as is, yeah. In fact, it might not leak. As you know, we're undergoing projects with that right now to save that. More niches are going in right now also. Not glass covered, still an open space, airflow. And these doors still remain as the entrance point for that.
Is there a doorway from the bride's walk into the courtyard?
There is not. And that's a grade, a leveling issue too.
Discussions about that. I didn't
Yeah.
know what the final answer was.
No, these are still the doors from Great Hall to courtyard.
So I'll talk a little bit about, and we can go back to other areas, but a few weeks ago, if you've come to adult formation classes, this is currently one of our hardest. So just a few weeks ago, Catherine and I were talking on a Wednesday night, downtown Memphis. We had a group of about 10 in the Sacred Ground class in Emerson Room. We had about 20-something folks in confirmation class in this room. We had 15 people packed into the library for a week-to-week class. Those are just the adult classes. We had an EFM class in Montgomery Foyer, which is not an accessible room. We have to know that group that's meeting there knows who's coming. I have seen a person try to get up and get down those steps to get to a class who came here in a wheelchair before. So it's a real thing. These are not hypothetical things. That's just on a Wednesday night, right? We had filled up those. I feel like there were some. This is not even saying how many kids were off in their playroom, the kids' playroom, and how many were in kids' choir, and then the adult choirs, and then the handbell choirs. So that's a Wednesday night, not a Sunday morning. The other thing to say about this room is it's one of my favorite rooms, everything we do in here. If you have a dozen people, it's not the best place to have a classroom. You know, it can be audibly, people have a hard time hearing. During the pandemic, we were playing with rooms, right? Madge remembers that during vestry, we would have vestry spread all out. So it's a really good room for receptions or a bigger class like this, but it's not as good for that. So currently we have the Great Hall, this one. We have the Emerson Room right there, which is good for 15 people. Can't really do very well with any beyond 15. Montgomery Foyer is inaccessible. And the library is a lovely spot for a dozen, but not much more than that right in there. And then we said we could have something in the gospel room, although programming it's in the basement, and we always have to be attentive to is there a meal being served outside it, just to give you a sense of those spaces. In the new space, we'll have that new chapel space David talked about on the ground floor, which I think will be really fun to think about programming things that we could offer during the week to the community. A yoga class on Tuesday at noon or something. We have that new first floor meeting behind it. The Emerson room will remain as it is. We may have it set up more as where a boardroom, a setup with a longer table, so that would be a nice place. It's close to the center, but looks out onto the foyer, the atrium. The new library is going to be right back here where Montgomery Foyer was, but it's going to be expanded this way a little bit, have a high ceiling and books and probably maybe a ladder. I guess we've got to make sure the kids don't climb up the ladder. We'll still have the Great Hall, which will still be this room, but it will stop right here at the stage. So effectively, we have the floor space, and a little bit more floor space gets added back there. It's almost probably a wash. And then the gospel room again. So that's for adults to think about program. Yeah, Bill.
I want to make sure that multi-use yoga room
Yeah.
is also, or is first a chapel.
Yeah.
Chapel that people can go to and sit quietly, or a small group can go, and it has the appointments
Yeah.
encourage a sacred space.
Yes, well said. So Bill said, I want to make sure that chapel room has the feel of a chapel, sacred space, quiet space, and the things around it. It actually started we were going to knock that floor out and make it 2 stories high to add to that feeling, and there were both structural and cost reasons why we pulled back and left that floor in. But from the beginning, from the glass on in, and when we say it can be used for other things, that means that we will have an altar table in there, but one that could be moved and arranged, and just liturgically we could do 2 different things in there. Yeah, noted. We do want that space specifically to be elevated and be quiet for people to be able to host things. That's a snapshot of the adult rooms as they are. I think a super important piece that David mentioned too, and we've talked about it a few times, is that if you're a young family and you come in right now, the church, and you're asking, how do I take my children to where's the nursery? The short answer is, as far as you can get from this place right here on our campus is your nursery. So, right? The nursery, if you come in here, you got to go downstairs and drop them off on the first floor down in the Calvary place, and the parents won't be able to find their way back to where they've just dropped their kids unless someone helps them. So it's really important to us that if someone comes in here and asks, how do I get my child to the nursery? We say, you head right down that hall to your right, and it's right there for the littlest ones. And then this corner room will be our toddler Sunday school room, but it will double as the toddler nursery during church, right, when we don't have a class in there. Jocelyn has said the programming in what we do for little ones, Montessori-based godly play, it really moves pretty early from just nursery to actually a little bit of formation. Here are some of the things of church around here. And you might be 2, but you're already starting to kind of inhabit holy space in a different way, right? So she's excited about programming that in those 2 ways. But it also simply says it's not hard to find. Or if your child is crying and you can now slip out the back and into the library there to listen to the service instead of going to the front of the church and having everybody stare at you while you take your screaming. No. So just some of those practical things. And the principle as far as the kids, how they work, we've got youngest, next youngest, and then those 9 to 12-year-olds get to scamper up the stairs to the 3rd floor and have a classroom there. And then the teenagers who are kind of trying to get away from us already get to go all the way up to the 4th floor and have their cool, penthouse suite up there for the youth, right? Right. Jeremy, you had your hand up a minute ago. I was rolling on through. Lady, do you have a question?
Yes, I wonder what you said, this one was not going to stop right there, like where's rock? What's going to be like?
What's going to be right here? So lady asked what's going to be right here. In the new plan, I'll be standing in a wider hallway, right? David was giving you that circle, how we can actually integrate the different spaces. we'll have a nice wide hallway, and you can see there's still room for Montgomery Foyer or the library to get bigger and still have a space here so that it's spacious and easy to go from north to south. It's really important to that with the widened bride's walk, we keep calling that. I think that term needs to die eventually because probably lots of spouse walk. And so we'll be accessible all the way through here, right? Does that make sense? One more lady? Yes, good question. Right now there's a step going out, but that will be accessible. There will be a ramp or the floor level, which that floor is underneath is being shored up so the top can be replaced with a different surface. Good questions. I guess David also alluded to the choir space. The other thing I want to say about that is, by having the vesting space around the choir rooms on the first floor, we realized that we could lose one doorway, which really changed the game as far as what could happen right around the choir. It's more convenient, and they've got all the hanging rods they had before. What that also allows us to do is to see what's the best ways to show you this. Right now, the other inaccessible place is our sacristy and our vesting areas for Eucharistic ministers. The EMs, the acolytes have a vesting room right down here, but by having the choir actually more convenient, we lose a little staircase here, we put a back door on the elevator, and that whole 2.5 floor, which is from sacristy all the way down to what's right now Kristen's office, that becomes accessible for the first time ever. And it also puts all of us up there. There's some divisions, but everybody who's vesting will be in that big area. Maybe we say our prayer in there because the acolytes and the Eucharistic ministers and the clergy were all there in this area with area to store crosses and all of those things. Yep. So the existing library, this is also cost-cutting, being the mother of invention in a way. We realized that one concept had early on was that we would take that library structure away and have more space out, more green space out here. Made more sense to leave it and think about how to use it. This is the first time we're able then, if you're walking down this hallway, if you've been to Waffle Shop or Lenten preaching, you know that you need 2 ushers at that door. You need one stopping people from walking into the library, say go that way, and then you need somebody else at the bottom of the stairs to say, no, don't go up those stairs, go this way to the church, right? By making this an open area where we could have welcome materials, we could have children. Jocelyn would like to have children's chapel there. It would be close to the church and convenient. You'll walk straight in here, be greeted, and you can see right across the room right into the door by the organ. So that just allows someone to kind of intuitively, who's making their way down that hallway, go right through those double doors, see the entrance into the church in a spacious, welcoming area. Again, that wasn't on the original plan, but it's been a problem that we've dealt with for years, trying to figure out how to let people know how to get into the church. Pretty elegant. Yes, Emerson room remains the proportions it is, the size it is exactly. There will be glass to be able to actually see out into this atrium area. Basically where the glass block is would be some clear glass to be able to see that. Other questions? And it can be again, David went through everything because this is the last catch-all. We want everything to be on the table as far as what you're curious about or confused about. We spent 10,000 hours with these things, so we probably make lots of assumptions that it makes sense. What are your questions or worries or excitements or? Yeah, Franklin. Yeah, great question. Will there be the names of things? Yeah, so one question has to do with names. everything that's named now that continues will keep its name. What's that? Well, maybe. We've talked about the library is Hester Shortridge. We don't use that name as much, but we've talked to the family a little about that. It may not be that. We will anything that doesn't remain, like Crump Parlor is not there. We will make sure that we reach out to folks. Or the organ room, we're going to talk to that family and say, what the organ room now is the beginning of this transformative foyer instead of just a single-use room. So yes, it's been named that we have to go back to each family and say, if that room doesn't exist anymore, thank you, here's how we'll honor you with what it used to be. The other thing that we heard in going forward related to that is that our consultant said that there's not a lot of interest in naming things going forward. Like what they heard from the congregation here was, we want to give to this and we want to make this happen, but we're not looking to name things. Partly for that, like it's good to honor, but it can get difficult to down the 30 years from now, 40 years from now. So we heard that, and the plan, at least for now, could change, but the plan for now is that we won't. We're not planning on having named gifts at this point. It's a good question, Franklin. Yeah. What else? Yeah, Tim.
So we will lose a few of the children's classrooms on the second floor, but they're actually made up for somewhere else.
That's right. Tim asked if we're losing a children's classroom on the second floor, but we make up for them. It's kind of astonishing if you think about it. Basically, we lose the middle classroom, and that's what gives us this big open area, which I can't emphasize enough. It's not just to be big and pretty and fancy, right? It's an orientation thing. So we lose that one floor, and we step in and we see where we are in the buildings, see where we're going, and create that new space. So we have this first kids. This classroom effectively goes to the third floor, and we have 2 classrooms up there. We can change programming as needs, but we have a lot of expansion as long as we have 3 for the younger kids and 2 upstairs for the youth. We've got all the classrooms with room for expansion we need. Yeah, Jeremy. Yes. 4th floor still has the kitchen.
And then, as it is now, those bathrooms have a step to get up.
Yes. It will not have a step. And this hasn't been drawn yet, but an elegant solution is this little wall right here. If that's removed, there's plenty of room for a little ramp right here that lets you get into that. That's assuming, I think there's some plumbing that got added there which necessitated that. Of course, if they start to dig in and they say, oh, we could just knock this out, they would do that. But it's a non-negotiable to make those restrooms accessible. Yeah, Katie.
Understand the choir suite all the way to the sacristy, because it sounds like there's going to be more room for vesting for the choir and all that, but I'm not sure what's taken away to create that.
Yep. So it is hard to visualize, partly because that 2.5 floor is right now, you can go up those stairs and you go down to a wall, and you wouldn't know that on the other side of the wall where I vest is Kristen's office. You have to kind of figure out is Kristen's office right now. So it's all on one level. It goes all the way. If you go into the choir suite now, there's stairs, right, that go up to Kristen's office. So at the top of those stairs, we're talking about this area right in here, everybody. Oh yeah, there's the stairs right there. In this is an old plan. So the stairs, existing stairs, those get to come out. You've got an elevator right here that empties onto floor 2.5. And that gives you access to all the way to the sacristy. And this full area, including Kristen's old office, will be the vesting area. So we're adding more than we're losing with acolytes currently. And the current acolyte room is exactly the same size as the flower room, like to a foot. So the flower room can move over next to the sacristy, which makes some intuitive sense, closer to the church. and then all of the vesting is together here. The piece here that's hard to visualize is that when you take what's really chopped up in this L around music right now, it's not actually, it ended up not being that hard to get all of the hanging space that we have now tucked into every corner in the third floor that people are going up and down for. And to still have an office for Kristen that's big enough with an organ, and the assistant's office that has some of the workroom. The other thing about that is that if you're in the choir room now, the choir already subdivides that room somewhat. There's some furniture about 3/4 of the way back because of the way it's used. So that's kind of you know the desire lines, you know that principle where you actually go out into a place that you've built and you see where the paths are. People have worn a path through the grass, and that's where you put your sidewalk instead of... Well, that's a kind of a desire line. We've realized, oh, this is the way that the choir is working. Let's get them a good piece of built-in cabinetry that makes that division. Music can be stored efficiently in the room and kind of make that work more efficiently. So some of the space we gain is by just using the space more smartly based on how we're actually using it. Did that Kristen's office is shrinking a little bit, but adequate. My office is shrinking a bunch. And really, like, one of the principles here is common spaces. Like, all of us on the staff, they're not tiny, they're not like teeny tiny offices, but we want to share more spaces. We want to have the space we need to hunker down and be quiet, but we also want to be drawn into those conversations outside in the common areas. We're downstairs partly just to be traffic and a little bit of liveliness.
Is the elevator staying the same size?
Yes, we can't get a bigger elevator without...
So how then is the bell choir going to be on the fourth floor?
Well, until the pandemic... Until the pandemic, the bell choir was in the downstairs chapel. So it's a new thing for the bell choir to be on this floor. And it's the transport has always depended upon that. We would love to get you on the second floor, but at the end of the day, it was, yeah, but it's doable. So at the end of the day, and just trying to kind of figure out how to prioritize things, also bell choir needs to be so far a little bit away from choir if you're both doing something at the same time for noise and things. Once you're on the elevator, we felt like it's just a little more time to go 2 floors than 1 if that's already going to have to be an element in the move. Better. I've never moved it, but that's how it's always made its way. Hopefully some better racks, and when we know where things are, they move. Anything else? Yeah, Bill.
I want everyone to stand. Give a big applause.
Thanks all. Thanks all. As you can see, all of the things we're doing are about ministry, are about life together, are about opening ourselves safely to the world around us and faithful to who we are. So thanks to everybody who's played a part in this, which is like a zillion people. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Y'all can talk to David or me anytime you want a walkthrough. Call us. We'd be glad to.